Bruce Wayne may appear to be a wealthy playboy, but beneath this facade, his true identity is that of the Batman, waging an endless war against crime. Join the Caped Crusader in Batman The Audio Adventures, the first scripted audio original featuring Batman and his villainous rogues gallery in a world premiere story of life and death in Gotham City, debuting exclusively on HBO Max. This rollicking adventure, told across 10 episodes, is written and directed by Emmy winner Dennis McNicholas, includes devilishly delightful original music by Doug Bossy, and performances by Rosario Dawson, John Leguizamo, Chris Parnell, Melissa Villaseñor, Seth Meyers, Jason Sudeikis, Brooke Shields, Fred Armisen, and many, many more. Go to hbomax.com/Batman Audio Adventures for more and stream Batman, The Audio Adventures only on HBO Max. Welcome to Countdown to Infinity, a Marvel's Avengers podcast. We talk all things Marvel Cinematic Universe, including the movies and the TV shows. And what a week to be a fan of the MCU, am I right?
I'm exhausted.
Because as you've possibly have heard in the episode previous to this one, there was a little Spider-Man movie that came out last week.
I don't know if you've heard.
It's a bit of a game changer. No, it was one of the most fun experiences, especially in a theater, in a really, really long time.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking Spider-Man again in a spoiler-full episode. And Sophia, you may do an episode too, just talking about what you thought about that movie, and
Sure.
if you have any thoughts, if you liked it. I don't even know if you liked it.
Right? Yeah. No. I mean, is it okay? I guess I don't know.
You threw your popcorn at the screen and you said, "This sucks."
Yeah, I was pissed.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate Spider-Man.
Right.
But we'll be talking about that with John and Andrew as well. But in the meantime, something else happened last week, and that was the penultimate, the 5th episode of Hawkeye on the Disney Plus streaming platform.
Right.
And this one's a bit of a doozy as well.
Wow. Yeah.
We were talking a little bit about how episode 5, or the one before the last episode of these streaming shows, seems to be the one where stuff gets crazy.
Yeah.
And it happened again.
It did.
It did happen again.
We talked about that, yeah.
It's episode 5. This one's titled Ronin.
Yeah.
And we finally have some really key revelations. Although, I don't know if you know this, but going into episode 1, you should have known who Ronin was pretty early on.
Yeah, from the jump. Yeah, you should definitely know.
Because he tells you. My name's Emmanuel.
My name is Sophia.
And are you in the holiday mood?
Am I in the holiday mood? I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's the holiday season.
Yeah, and whoop-de-doo. And hickory dock.
Right.
And I don't know the rest of the words.
I forgot the rest of the words.
Something in a clock?
Hickory dock?
Hickory dock?
Hickory dickory dock?
Well, we hope everyone's having a good holiday season. And I'm sure that Spider-Man movie has helped. That is actually also kind of a Christmassy movie in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it? That's
in a way. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so is Hawkeye. We get that vibe, from in every single episode. And
right.
Yeah. Well, this is we're not spoiling Spider-Man for you.
No.
But we are going to be spoiling episode 5 of Hawkeye.
I was going to say, but we are going to just keep talking about it really quick. No,
just so if you haven't seen episode 5 of Hawkeye, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens and a big revelation, especially towards the end. We don't want that ruined for you. So if you haven't seen Hawkeye the show, watch the latest episode at least before you listen to this.
Yeah, just turn it off real quick.
And if you haven't seen Spider-Man, don't worry, we're not talking about any of that stuff. Even though we could.
We totally could.
Yeah. We have the capabilities.
We do.
But this is episode 5, Ronin. It's really interesting because in the last episode, that cliffhanger was the reveal of Yelena, one of the Black Widows, and also Natasha's sister.
Yes.
On the roof. And in this episode, we kind of dive into kind of what happened to her pre-Hawkeye, post Black Widow. And it's pretty interesting. Her mission was to kind of save as many Black Widows as possible with that antidote of the brain control thing.
Yeah.
And she's doing that good until...
Doing that good.
She gets blipped.
Yes, very quickly, and it happens kind of unexpectedly too because she just went potty.
Yeah, that would suck. But it also is kind of.
Can you imagine if you were on the toilet when you got blimped, and then you just end up back on the toilet when you have to return?
Well, I mean, I would feel a little. Hey, if I was on the toilet, I'd feel 10 pounds lighter. You know what I'm saying? And then when I got
5
blipped,
years
I'd
younger.
be like all light. I'd be gone. What do you think about this blip? I guess sequence. It's really interesting because WandaVision also has kind of a blip sequence in it as well. What do you think about seeing all these blips and seeing kind of in real time what these people are experiencing, leaving and coming back?
Yeah, I mean, it's that's exactly what it is. It's just the experience, and it's kind of like answering questions or making us realize what happened, like literally all over the world, other than what we have just already seen in the MCU. Because you kind of forget, because there are so many characters, and there are so many people that they love, and
we obviously follow the ones that don't get blipped in the Avengers movies,
right? And so that's why I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that so and so was there. Oh yeah, I forgot about them. Or oh yeah, what about whatever. Like you think about it, and you kind of not lose track, but I mean, unless you're keeping tabs on your phone or something. But I mean, yeah, it's really interesting to see, and it kind of puts it in perspective, like just for us, just because I mean, if the way that it showed it here was that like, oh, you just returned back to wherever you were 5 years later, and she is back in the bathroom in this
someone else's house.
And but they totally remember the day that it happened, because those who did not get blipped, like, yeah, you do, because you have to keep living your life.
And they moved on. They have kids and a family.
She's married now. And so, but can you imagine if it wasn't that way, like if somebody else had bought the house, or like if something else crazy had happened, like,
well, it's sort of the thing that people are talking about. What happens if people were blipped on a plane?
Right.
Or there are a lot of situations where it could just be incredibly dangerous. Or in the ocean, you're swimming, and then now you're drowning.
What if you were skydiving for the first time?
Yeah. I will say that the experience seems a little bit more manageable in this, because it seemed to literally just take place within seconds.
5
like
seconds.
She blinked and then she's back. That's that's tremendous. And also it makes you realize that on your left moment where he snaps, all of those Avengers immediately were like, let's get back to the planet, because it happened so quickly. But in Endgame, everyone's already like full armored up, ready to go, and they must have, I don't know. That seems kind of crazy. But of course, Doctor Strange is there, so I'm sure he helped a lot. But you know what? That's what we should do. Endgame doesn't make sense. I'm just kidding. There's also a lot of deep stuff happening with, of course, Hawkeye and Kate, but specifically for Clint, though, there's a lot going on with him when it comes to why he's trying to hide not only Ronin's identity, who is him, but also kind of whoever has this watch. It seems like he's trying to protect quite a few people.
Right.
And he keeps talking about the big guy. And his wife is talking about the big guy. They seem to be afraid of the big guy, which is insane, because Clint is an Avenger, and not sure why he would worry about anyone, really.
Right.
But I feel like we're jumping towards the end.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it yet.
We'll talk about the big guy
But
again.
we're just talking about Clint's perspective. Real quick.
Yeah, and that's basically why he's still in New York City and not home for the holidays.
Yeah,
he's still hanging out with the LARPer.
Right. And I do like the fact that they try to portray Clint as like just covering up his own tracks, if that makes sense, because there's some moments when I don't remember if it's the mom, like Kate's mom, or if it's Echo that is the one that's like, yeah, but he's, oh no, you know what? It's Natasha's sister. Yeah, it's Yelena who's talking about Clint and how much she hates him, and that like, oh, he's just covering up his tracks, and like, I don't know why you love him so much. And
you've known him for like a week.
Yes, literally. And so I do like that they did that, because it makes I think it was supposed to make us wonder, like, oh shit, like, is Clint just covering up his shit?
It
like,
is kind of,
Is it?
He's a double-sided coin, and no, wait, doesn't make any sense.
That's not
he's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
The bright, shiny Clint Hawkeye, and then the stuff that will probably make you like him
question
less.
Everything. Yeah, I mean, it definitely brought some new sides or new thoughts or images of him in my mind for just a hot second, and then I was returned back to like, oh shit, no, he really is just trying to, I mean, it's nice, he's taking responsibility, and he's trying to feel like not less guilt, but just trying to
correct some wrongs,
he's
add some context, because that's another big reveal in this is he attempts to talk to Echo.
Yes.
After during like an ambush that they're obviously not prepared for because
Right.
it's Hawkeye.
Right.
But he does share. He puts the Ronin stuff back on, and he does share with Echo that he is Clint.
Yeah.
But also the fact that he wasn't there primarily just to murder her dad. He was tipped off
Yeah.
by the big guy.
By
Or someone
someone.
who works
By
for the
someone.
big guy. And we find out who that is too.
Yes.
But it's kind of interesting because it kind of takes some of the weight off of him a little bit to where you're like, oh, he's just not a murderer.
It's bigger
but
than him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was given some information.
Yeah.
And then he thought, with the information he knew, that's what I should do. It's pretty interesting. Well, Kate's got a lot of drama going on too because he tells her mom that
Yes.
Jack Duquesne is a front for the tracksuit mafia.
Yes.
And he's actually a bad guy. And yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean
gosh.
it's pretty interesting because I'm starting to feel like he's a big red herring, and you're supposed to feel like he's evil, and he's actually not.
No,
Does that make
I've
sense?
been
Like
saying this since day one.
they've been dangling him out
Since
there.
day one,
Your
bro.
mom's new boyfriend. There's
No.
something up with him. His
Nuh-uh.
uncle's dead.
No.
And it seems like
I'm
he
gonna
may
be-
just be a dummy, like a dummy in love.
I will be pleasantly surprised if he actually is the mastermind at the end of this, but I highly fucking doubt
Yeah.
it because of the mom's reaction to like the information that Kate gave her as she was like cleaning up her little boo-boos, and the mom was just like, "Oh my god, no way.
Oh no.
No way.
I gotta do something.
Yeah, and then all she does is report it, and then
Yeah.
but she could have easily tampered with all of that information. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
runs a
A
security company.
And I really do feel like that's what happened because he's kind of like, I don't know what's happening. He's getting pulled away. He's
Like
like, don't worry, baby, I'll get out of this.
And also, like, if he was a mastermind, it would not be as obvious as him listing it
yeah.
as himself. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
it that's so easily traced back to him. That doesn't make any sense.
And it's not like he's perfectly perfect because he did also go to that, underground auction. But
Yes.
that is there's a big difference between just buying some illegal stuff and
participating in illegal stuff.
yeah, and which is kind of crazy. But we've known, I think, since episode 1 that Vera Farmiga, who is Kate's mom, is a super
Sus.
talented actress, but probably a bad person because of the way she is acting. And again, at the end of this, we find out who she's working for. Who are you working for?
Is it for or with?
Who are you working with? Probably for, because I think he hires her.
Oh, you right.
company. Yeah,
You right.
But let's talk about the scene that I think a lot of people thought stole this episode, and that is Florence Pugh as Yelena,
gosh.
basically Yelenaing it up in the apartment of Kate. This is right before that deep conversation we talked about.
That accent.
She's kind of
love her.
She's funny. She's really sincere.
The macaroni.
She's kind of self-deprecating in a way, but also like having a good time, I think, as the character. And we found out that, later on with the cast, when they went to lunch or dinner together, she kept the accent up. I think it's hard to get in and out of it. So it's something she had to do. But what did you think about that scene where she's making some ramen and talking to Kate?
She's making macaroni.
Macaroni.
And it's first of all, I have never thought about putting sriracha in my macaroni, but I totally want to try it now. I kind of want to go and experiment with that because I'm like, that's genius. I don't know why I haven't done that before. Like, thank you so much, Florence.
She likes sriracha.
Thank you, Florence and Yelena. Thank you so much. No, but I do think that she could have easily killed Kate. Like, she could have. She's a freaking Black
She's
Widow.
a Black Widow.
Yeah. But I do think she came off as very authentic. I do think that Kate kind of relates to her in a way because it's like, oh, okay, well, I lost my dad, you lost your sister, like, so and so and so and so, and also like they're kind of both related to Clint, but obviously in different ways. And I do like that Kate also tried to stick up for Clint just because, one, she's only known him for a week, and so it's very easy to just forget about somebody that you've already met and just whatever, But I do think that her idolization of him, if that makes sense, is definitely resonating in this conversation because she's like, no, like he would never do something like that and blah blah blah. Like she's kind of like naively just following him because Yelena does have some pretty good points saying that like, oh well, how much do you know about him? Like how do you know what he's done? Like do you know what like blah blah? But at the same time, Yelena also doesn't know exactly what happened between Clint and Natasha. Like she has no idea.
No one was there.
If she were to just sit down with Clint and try to understand his point of view, then I think it would be a totally different story. I also love how the conversation ends because that's when we for sure find out that Yelena was assigned to kill
Yeah, someone
him.
hired her. Yeah.
So it is like a personal thing, but also I think after this conversation, or if Yelena does for some reason get the opportunity to sit down and talk to Clint, or if he explains to her and he like lets
This is
her
what
know what's
happened,
going
yeah.
on or what happened. Yeah, I think it would totally jeopardize things because of the assignment. I think her heart is much bigger than what she portrays because we learned that in Black Widow anyway.
Well, I
like
think
the movie.
I think yeah, Kate does a lot to kind of soften her stance against Clint a little bit.
Yeah, she plants the seed.
And I think that this really fun scene between two, I think contemporary actors. Maybe I think we're kind of getting a preview too of the next generation of the Avengers. And how their dynamic works, and I think it's really good, especially for these two and having kind of different personalities, but I think still big enough to carry, a straight up movie or something, you know? Because I feel like because Clint is, I believe, going to retire by the end of this. I don't see him.
Stop.
I don't see Hawkeye being really, really
Stop
old,
it.
still being the Avengers. So.
I mean, they've already gotten rid of Chris, right?
Yeah.
They've already gotten
Chris
rid
Evans
of.
is gone, so RDJ is gone. So really, we're getting a hint at this next generation.
They got rid of ScarJo.
And I think there's just as much like charisma and like the fun stuff that you like and differences when you watch those Avengers films.
Yeah.
In Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld, and I think you're right. They come in this with competing interests. Obviously, Yelena wants to murder Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And Kate wants to save his life, and they come off of this with a little bit of each other's, ideas. Even though Kate does rescue him against Echo later on in this episode, but also Yelena does a lot of digging on her own because she is like, okay, well, I wonder who is trying to hire her, and it's not we don't see Valentina.
No.
A while, even though we know she's kind of helped recruit her.
Yes.
After the blip. But we can't really skirt around it much longer. Yelena is able to uncover some nanny cam footage or security footage.
Yeah.
of Kate's mom, and it kind of breaks Kate's
heart,
heart, but she shows it to
for a
Hawkeye.
second.
And it's Kate's mom who's behind the attempted murder.
Yes, I knew it.
Which is kind of crazy because in the episode prior, they were in her house talking to her.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't want my daughter hurt. And we find out that it's the big guy.
Who is
The Kingpin. Walter Fisk, I think it is. But the Kingpin, who is the, I believe, played by Vincent D'Onofrio from the Netflix Daredevil and the Defenders series.
It looks like him.
Yeah, and he's the guy.
He's the dude.
Huge because now
we all waited
part
for
of the MCU, which is huge in its own right, but also a really crazy, I guess, the weight of his character being in the show and the Hawkeye even being afraid of him. That's a little intense. But what do you think about the Kingpin of this episode?
I think everybody was waiting for it. I think there can only be so many like huge characters like that are placed in New York.
Yeah,
so
and we do see him. We see him, kind of off camera talking to a young Echo.
Yes, yeah, and I think that gave it away very easy. But I mean, Disney knows what they're doing. Marvel knows what they're doing, and so like they're gonna know that we notice all of this shit. So yeah, but I do think it's super fucking exciting. I am stoked for next episode. I think next episode is probably the most excited I've ever been for an episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The excitement I feel for next episode is probably the most excitement I've had throughout the series. But I do love that now, hopefully, Yelena and Kate and even Echo too, because we didn't talk about Echo and her.
We talked about it a little bit.
What she knows.
We talked about it a little bit we talked about it with Hawkeye telling her that she was super tough.
The other thing, and then the person, like, she puts two and two together and
she
figures out who it is.
Yeah,
because it's
her
like,
right-hand man.
It's her BFF.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, right. So I feel like there's going to be more team-ups now.
It seems like people are getting closer to Hawkeye's side.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, he's the right side, like
my gosh.
No. I don't mean that in like a hello, should I be him? Like, but he's in the right here.
Yeah.
With all this illegal activity and all of the
tracksuits.
Yeah. and all the backstabbing and the heartbreak.
Yeah. I feel like Kate's gone over whatever hurdle she had with Clint, and she's full on Team Hawkeye and Ronin because she knows that too.
Yes, but I think because she has this new perspective of like what's going on with everybody, and she's like, oh, it's just a bunch of miscommunication between him and Yelena, and she's like, oh my god, my fucking mom, like I didn't know, and then like
she lied to me too.
Yeah, so I think next step is probably going to be pretty exciting.
I hope that because we're kind of talking about the finale already, but I hope we get some really cool action sequences, but I hope it's not too weighted towards that because that seems to be something that the finales of all these MCU streaming shows turn to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's just all these amazing reveals and conversations between characters and great actors, and then we'll just have a giant fight for 30, 40 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So I hope there's a little bit of, I think like maybe even just some catharsis for Hawkeye's character, but I also feel like we're gonna get that Christmas movie trope, that holiday movie trope in this, where he shows up on Christmas. I
hope so.
But I still feel like that's gonna be interesting because maybe Kate's with him because obviously her mom's going to prison. I don't know, or evil now, and maybe Yelena's there too because she doesn't have anywhere to go. She wants a New York Christmas. She keeps talking about it.
Yeah,
that's what I think this is. I think it'll remember that it's kind of a Christmas series at the last episode and be just that vibe. Does that make sense?
I hope so.
After whatever crazy fight does happen.
like that cheesy holiday movie type.
Yeah, because that's kind of unique. We haven't seen that, especially in the MCU. I guess we'll see it in Groot's Christmas special or holiday special that's coming out. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot to be revealed. What do you think about Kingpin? Obviously, I think this is just an introduction to him. I don't think this is any way some kind of a big, I don't think Hawkeye captures Kingpin or anything like that.
No. I think you're right. I think it is just going to be an introduction to him. And I also think that there are going to be just a couple of scenes with him like fully in it, maybe in the series. I don't think that he's going to play a huge part because these are all people we've been so far dealing with people who work for him. If that makes sense. Like he's big enough to where he does not have to be involved like personally or physically right there with them.
Yeah.
But I do think that especially because Clint has all of the like police department who's willing to help with this situation, like I think it's going to be more of like taking down Kate's mom for the rest of the series versus actual Kingpin. And then I do think Echo is probably going to kill her homeboy or whoever like personally hired him. I don't think did Kingpin actually hire him? I don't think that was hinted. I think it was just that.
No, I don't think so.
Somebody else higher up than them hired him to
Well, it's also interesting because all these episodes start kind of with a prologue of one of the characters. This last one was Yelena, but we've seen Echo's prologue. We saw Kate's in the first episode.
Right.
I wonder who we would see in the last one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Hawkeye too, but I don't know who would be the one that would reveal the most. I mean, I guess Kingpin or Kate's mom. Kate's mom would be a good prologue.
I think it's going to be her. I think it's going to be her dealing with all of the illegal stuff.
Yeah. So that will also bring more context to everything.
Or it'll be her from the first step whenever the building comes crashing down and like she loses her baby. Her hubby.
Maybe her husband is alive or something.
And then that triggers everything for her and then she goes to the bed.
I feel like that's also they've been using these prologues as kind of a quick way to give backstory. And then
for sure,
you're suddenly
because it
like,
works.
oh snap! Now I know, which I totally think is going to happen.
But it totally works, and that's what hooks us in, baby.
Well, we're headed into this kind of exciting finale for Hawkeye. I'm strapped in and loaded. But Sophia, is there anything else that you're looking forward to in the finale? I know there's a lot that still needs to be resolved, but I totally feel like we're really close.
Yeah, and I just want to see Kate's mom get her ass beat.
You want to see more? You want to see more LARPing?
Maybe by her daughter. Oh, 100% with the LARPing. Nothing else but.
That should be the whole show, LARPing. I'm kind of surprised that that's such a big deal and he's still hanging out with the LARPers.
I mean, it makes sense though. You need the city on your side, right? Like as an Avenger.
I guess all the police.
Yeah.
The firefighters
Yeah.
that are there? I don't know. I also think it's problematic that a firefighter is stealing stuff from
Yeah,
a burn
I think
site.
it kind of hints towards that. Anyways, that's another thing.
Yeah, someone should report him. That's kind of messed up. That's someone's belongings.
Yeah.
Well, we've come to the end of this episode. Again, we will have a Spider-Man spoiler-full episode, and then, of course, the finale for Hawkeye next week.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's going to come out, like 2 days after Christmas, because it's already,
After?
yeah. Christmas is this Saturday.
Oh my gosh, you're so
Wow.
right.
Okay. All right. So this is the Christmas episode. This is now the Christmas episode. Mm-hmm. But so, yeah, what do you have to plug, or what do you want to say?
So just thank you always for listening to the pod. Thank you it supports us so much. You have no idea. Also, if you want to continue to support us or take it a step further, you can feel free to subscribe to our Patreon. Everything's going to be at patreon.com/delphinpod, DELFINPOD. And then if you want to follow me on any socials, you sure can. Everything's going to be at _simply Sophie, SOFIEE.
Yes. You can definitely go to Patreon, support all the pod. Listen to all of the podcasts on the Delphin Pod Network. There's quite a few. Mm-hmm. And everyone's been working really hard. We just had our Christmas party last week.
Oh my
our
gosh.
holiday party.
Yeah.
We went
I
bowling. That
kicked
was fun.
Ass.
And
It's
yeah.
amazing. Also, please be safe. Be careful. You know?
Yeah. Get a booster.
Get a booster
Wear a
if you
mask.
need it. Wear a mask.
Omicron is
out there.
Mm-hmm. Kind of not letting us close out this pandemic.
Yeah.
But yeah, be safe, everyone. Have a great holidays.
Yes.
I believe we're gonna have a Spider-Man episode before so this is not maybe our final episode before Christmas Day, but still,
yeah.
Happy holidays to you, and
Happy
I hope
holidays, everyone. Happy
you have
New
a good
Year.
New Year. Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.